Okay.
Yeah, is there one here then?
Just one group here.
Okay. And this is the plan. Who did this?
That was a group effort between us.
Okay. Do you want to talk through what you've done?
Yeah, so we first of all obviously started with reading over the brief, and we picked out the key points for which Mr and Mrs Smith wanted from their new kitchen design. So we looked at how to make it a sociable space and how to look at good internal storage. And I think from there that kind of led us to wanting to create sort of zoning within the kitchen of a sociable space and a functional space as well, which we did that through creating an island in the middle, and then basically sort of designing it differently from the rest of the space. So I'll talk you through first of all what our design looks like, and then I'll talk through kind of the functionality of it. So what we quite like the idea of is, from picking cabinets and things like that, is to kind of keep it quite like a natural feel. Keep it so it's timeless, because if this is meant to be a kitchen that's meant to last a long time, we don't want to bring any too many bold colours in, which they could get potentially bored of, and they could customise it with other colours in other ways. So we decided to keep the bottom cabinets in this dark, kind of like a grey, a little bit browny sort of colour, and then keep it light on top, so that we, rather than doing like a white or a beige or a cream, we quite like the idea of bringing the wood to kind of soften up the quite hard, cold features that you would normally get in the kitchen. And then with the handles, we quite liked having the style of this one, but the dark black, more brushed effect for the bottom cabinets. So we quite like the idea of it being flushed to the cabinets, so there was quite minimal that you wouldn't necessarily notice them. And then for the worktops, we quite like the idea of this natural concrete, sort of hold it up there, which is again quite minimal, but this idea of bringing in sort of more natural kind of materials into the idea of the kitchen.
The idea was to use that as our splashback as well.
That's it,
so it would follow the same sort of like very similar to the one that you've got behind you. It follows the same sort of pattern and design, so it all flows.
That's it. But then to kind of make the island stand out, we'd like to keep the dark bottom, but then have a bit more of a jazzy, marbly effect tile, again, which is probably see the bigger version of it here. We basically fell in love with it. So that's the kind of idea, to keep that a sociable space where we could have some sort of chairs, which we've got just down here, quite industrial, minimalistic, sort of sleek kind of chairs sitting underneath the island. So, and then to keep it with like a natural kind of slaty sort of colour flooring. So what next I'll do is sort of talk you through the layout of the kitchen itself. So again, we were quite inspired by having it, because there's quite a long wall, like a feature functional kind of run of cabinets. So the idea was to have two cabinets, cookers in the middle with the tall, these ones, VS towel gate either side, so you can kind of like pick up things and open them up sort of in the sort of same kind of area. And then to come along, we were looking at,
we've got a similar sort of the drawers, similar
to here.
We quite liked the idea that you had the contrast of the really tall and then having a little bit of a smaller area, just so you had some normal workspace besides the island.
And to keep it kind of quite symmetrical as well, so you've got it kind of in the middle and then it brings out sort of towards the ends. And then at the far end, we had the cornerstone cabinet, which then sort of wrapped around slightly to the other wall, which is a feature Mr and Mrs Smith wanted to bring into the design. Another thing that we quite liked the idea was to use another piece of furniture slightly differently, which was the spice rack, so the storage rack, up against the wall to create a living wall. So that would be sort of like herbs in there, plants that they can kind of sort of pick up and use, and sort of an idea of keeping it quite natural.
So that would have followed around above that corner.
Near the window as well, so it would pick up natural light. And then for the island, we wanted to bring the hob onto the island as well, which sits behind the cooker. So it's kind of like this central space where if you're cooking and socialising, it's all within one area. And then we had the sink with the bins either side. So you've got the sink in the middle with the utility drawers underneath. And then you had the bin storage sort of solutions either side with different bins that you could use. Yeah, and then we had the utility. That was it. Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, sorry, forgetting about it all. Yeah, we quite like the idea of having like a column anthracite grey radiator.
Just to fill up a corner and just sort of create a feature
within it. Yeah. And then with the utility, we wanted to kind of maximise storage. you know, also have a separate sink in there as well, so you don't always like to wash up things in the kitchen sink. You might want to use the utility sink, so if you had a dog or something like that, you could potentially use that sink instead, which has actually worked out slightly bigger than the sink in the main kitchen as well. So,
what storage solutions have you used in the utility room?
We've got, around here we've got the laundry drawer, which we read just here. And then we've got the washer dryer. We've got another cornerstone here, which potentially you could pull out. We were talking about
putting your washing
powders and things like that. And then we've got the fridge freezer. We thought we'd put another fridge freezer in the utilities room, because sometimes we could only fit in a combined fridge freezer in the main kitchen. So we thought about doing a bigger one in the utilities. That could be like your leftover turkey or something like that from Christmas. And some tall cabinets as well, either side of them. So it's all tall on one side and then comes down lower around the rest of the utility room.
We did also choose to use under the sink the drawer that you've actually got over here as display. I don't know if I pull it out. We really liked the way that they had the shaping around the actual pipe, so it wasn't a dead use of space, so to speak. We really liked that you could use that, and obviously in a utility room you do want as much storage as possible, and that was obviously what they asked for, Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah. So, I don't know if
Well done.
Yeah, have we missed anything?
I don't think so. I think that was...
Yeah.
Okay.
Questions?
Good,
John,
yeah,
yeah,
that's really
feedback?
good. I was just getting a flavour for the appliances. So you've put 2 ovens in the tall housing,
Yeah.
like that, that's great. You've put a hob, probably an induction hob on the island. There would be a bit of thought need to go about the extraction of that.
Yeah.
There's a few different choices hanging from the ceiling, or bulkhead ones that are more discreet in the ceiling. That one's good. This is the next generation just coming out now, where the extractor's built into the hob. You need a fair bit of space for that, and there's different ways, but that will all work fine. It's interesting with the seating on the end here. Is that all one flat piece of worktop?
Yeah, the idea, this extra little piece that we've drawn is like the extended. It's sort of hollow underneath.
That's it. Yeah, so it's extension out. And then the idea is that it looked not into the utility room, but it looked out away from the utility. You don't always maybe look at your messy room.
Yeah, so we was assuming maybe that was the garden. You could then have that nice view out the door, etc. And then the nice idea it facing the hob, that if you have people coming around for dinner, obviously they can cook and you can still talk to your guests and everything whilst they're sitting around, because it's a mix of the socialising and the practicality again.
I think the step down idea is quite nice as well. Like again, we were sitting here, so it is easy to be inspired, but having the hob slightly higher from the seating area as well does create more zone.
We did that
here.
Yeah. The previous island here was just a blob. I don't know if you remember it, but just a knob thing. But as people's rooms are getting bigger and they're knocking down walls, we're finding the focus on the island is more than it used to be. Emma does a lot of cook days here. So what we're trying to do, because we don't know the people, you can't say something like you could, with your own kids, say keep out of the way sort of thing. So we try to keep the seating away from the hob, so there can't be any accidents. And again, in front of the ovens there, that works quite well. And that, you've got this triangle sort of thing that they talk about. Of course, there's quite a lot of walking between the sink and the ovens and the hob, the kind of busy part of the kitchen. But I think, in terms of design, I think this is a good starting point. If you did this in conjunction with a client, you'd have to listen a lot to their requirements. Obviously, you have quite a narrow brief here to work from, but it's a perfectly workable design. Clients will be very happy with this. There's a couple of pinch points there, but again, it depends on the kids they've got, what sort of lives they've got, as to how much space overall they need to have. But it's a good design, a good choice of products that complement each other.
Cool.
So yeah, I think it'll be a tough one to beat, this one.
Well done.
Thank you.
Kim, do you want to give would you like to give some feedback from a Vauth-Sagel perspective with which products they've decided to use?
Yes, I would, but is it okay if I wait and reflect afterwards?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well done, girls.
Thank you.